Elena Rossi swerved into the last stretch of Via Libertà, her knuckles white on the steering wheel, the Sicilian morning sun bouncing off the cobblestones. Her eyes locked on the last free parking space, a tiny rectangle between a rusty Fiat and a gleaming Mercedes. Relief surged, until a black SUV skidded around the corner, tires squealing, a dark silhouette behind the wheel. "Not today," she muttered, pressing the horn. The SUV slowed, then stopped just inches from the spot, the engine rumbling like a growl. A man in a sharp suit leaned out, eyes cold and calculating. "I don't think you want to do that, signorina," he said, voice smooth, edged with authority. Elena straightened her back and lifted her chin. "I think I do," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. He narrowed his eyes. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." She raised an eyebrow. "Try me." The city seemed to shrink around them as the tension tightened, two wills colliding over a stretch of asphalt. Around them, scooters weaved dangerously, pedestrians muttered curses, and the honking of impatient drivers became a soundtrack to their standoff. The man, Lorenzo Vitale, as she would soon find out, stepped out, towering, the kind of presence that made people obey without question. He moved toward her car, slow, deliberate, like a predator assessing prey. "I said," he began, voice low, "this spot is mine." "I saw it first," Elena shot back. "I signaled, 'I'm parking here.'" He smirked, as if amused by her defiance. "Bold, for a girl alone on the streets of Palermo." Elena clenched her jaw. "Call me whatever you want. You're not moving me." A small crowd had begun to gather, drawn by the spectacle. Mothers with strollers, delivery guys on scooters, an elderly couple shaking their heads. And yet, in Lorenzo's eyes, it wasn't the crowd that mattered. It was her. Her stubbornness, her refusal to back down, the way she stood her ground despite being obviously outmatched. He took out his phone, tapped quickly, then stepped back with a mock bow. "Fine. I'll park elsewhere. But consider this a small warning. I like a challenge, and I never forget those who defy me." Elena exhaled sharply, finally sliding the car into the coveted space. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from adrenaline. She didn't notice Lorenzo leaning against his SUV across the street, watching her every move, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. Later that morning, as she tried to calm her racing heart with espresso, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Lunch? I insist." Elena's first instinct was to delete it. Stalker, creepy, insane. But a part of her, daring, reckless, curious, made her pause. By noon, she had agreed, telling herself she'd regret it either way. The trattoria was a short walk from her apartment, tucked into a quiet street where the smell of fresh bread and tomato sauce wrapped around her like a warm blanket. Lorenzo was already there when she arrived, casually leaning against a table outside. He looked different in sunlight, less intimidating, more human. Casual shirt, rolled-up sleeves, eyes that didn't just see, but noticed. "Glad you made it," he said, offering a hand. She shook it, wary but intrigued. "Why the interest in me?" she asked bluntly, taking her seat across from him. He chuckled. "Let's say your audacity caught my attention. Not many people tell me no." Elena raised a brow. "I don't think many people like you either." "You'd be surprised," he said, leaning back. "But let's not talk about me. Tell me about you, your work, your passions." She hesitated, then found herself opening up. The way the sunlight caught the rim of his eyes made her forget, for just a moment, the parking lot, the SUV, the intimidation. Here, it was just two people talking, exchanging words that meant something beyond status or power. Hours slipped by as they shared stories. Elena learned he hadn't always been rich, that he grew up in a small Palermo neighborhood, scraping together opportunity with risk, grit, and a touch of moral flexibility. She listened, fascinated, realizing the man who had threatened her wasn't just wealth and arrogance. He had scars, ambition, and vulnerability. "You really have people watching everything I do?" she asked cautiously. "I observe," he admitted, leaning forward. "Not to control, just to understand. I appreciate honesty, Elena, but I like to know who I'm dealing with." Her stomach knotted. She should have been furious. Instead, she found herself oddly drawn to his intensity, his focus, the way he saw her. By the end of lunch, he made a casual offer that startled her. "A private studio in my villa for your work. No strings attached, complete freedom." Elena blinked. "Why?" "Because I believe in talent, and I like seeing potential flourish," he said simply, as if the gesture was obvious. She laughed nervously, unsure whether to be offended or intrigued. "You're impossible." "And yet," he said with that infuriatingly confident smirk, "you're still sitting here." They walked back toward the street, the afternoon heat settling over them. For the first time, Elena didn't feel small or cornered. She felt seen. Something dangerous and exhilarating stirred in her chest, a mix of fear, curiosity, and undeniable attraction. Her phone buzzed again mid-walk, a reminder of the video she was supposed to finish editing for her YouTube channel. She groaned, then laughed. "I swear, between work and chaos, I'll never survive Palermo alive." "Maybe you just need a distraction," Lorenzo said smoothly, and before she could protest, he nudged her toward a scenic drive along the coast, eyes sparkling with challenge. And just like that, the city that had felt suffocating moments ago now seemed full of possibility. If you're enjoying this story so far, make sure to hit that like button, comment what you think Elena should do next, and subscribe for the rest of the story. You won't want to miss what happens next. Elena's heart thudded as she followed Lorenzo into his sleek black SUV, the engine purring like a predator awakening. She couldn't stop glancing at him, the casual confidence in his posture, the way his fingers drummed lightly on the steering wheel. Palermo's streets blurred past in a chaotic whirl of scooters, honking and shouting. "So the famous villa," she muttered, trying to sound casual, though curiosity burned in her chest. "Is it as fancy as it sounds?" Lorenzo's lips quirked in a half-smile. "Fancier than the cobblestones you're used to. But it's more than that. It's a sanctuary. You'll see soon enough." Elena folded her arms, half defensive, half excited. She hated being impressed, yet every fiber of her body leaned forward, drawn toward him. "Sanctuary for who? You? Or the people you stalk?" she jabbed, teasing with sharp humor. He laughed, low and amused, shaking his head. "You really are fearless, you know that? I only observe because people who surprise me are worth noticing, and you, Elena, are full of surprises." She flushed, a mix of anger, embarrassment, and something far too magnetic to name. "You're infuriating," she muttered, eyes fixed on the passing scenery. "Good," he said, eyes glinting. "I aim to be." The SUV turned onto a winding hill road, the city shrinking behind them. Olive groves and terracotta rooftops stretched into the distance, the warm Sicilian sun glinting off the sea below. Elena finally allowed herself to relax, letting the scenery soothe the adrenaline still thrumming in her veins. When they arrived, the villa was breathtaking but not ostentatious. Stone walls, climbing bougainvillea, a sense of history and life. Lorenzo opened the car door for her, his hand brushing hers briefly, a spark, fleeting yet unmistakable. "Welcome to your studio," he said, gesturing toward a sunlit building at the edge of the villa grounds. It had large windows, a polished wooden floor, and walls waiting to be adorned. Elena's breath caught. "You really mean it? No strings? No catch?" He shrugged, casual, as if giving her a gift was the most natural thing in the world. "None. Consider it a space to create, to grow, free from distractions. You don't owe me anything, Not yet, anyway. She studied him, searching for hidden motives, for the usual arrogance she'd been warned about. Instead, she found sincerity in his steady gaze. I don't know what to say, except thank you. You don't have to say anything, he replied, softening. Just use it. Make it yours. They walked together into the studio, and Elena felt a rush of possibility. Ideas swirled, excitement mingling with the lingering tension from earlier. Lorenzo lingered in the doorway, watching her examine the space. You're happy? He asked gently. I think I might be, she admitted, cheeks warming. He moved closer, just close enough to feel his presence, not too close to be threatening. Good, because seeing you happy, it matters to me. Elena's stomach twisted in ways she hadn't anticipated. She wanted to pull back, remind herself of reality. He was wealthy, powerful, dangerous in ways she didn't fully understand. And yet, she found herself drawn to him, wanting to stay in this space, wanting to see what he saw in her. Later, as the sun dipped toward the horizon, Lorenzo suggested a walk along the villa's terrace. The sky blazed in oranges and pinks, the sea sparkling like molten glass. They walked side by side, the tension between them electric, unspoken, pulsing. You know, he said quietly, I never expected to be this intrigued by someone, especially someone who doesn't give in. Elena laughed softly, nervous. And you thought everyone just obeyed you? Almost, he admitted, his tone teasing yet sincere. But you're different. You challenge me. You make me want to think. She glanced at him, heart racing. That's dangerous to say out loud. He smiled, a flicker of warmth in his eyes. I like dangerous. A quiet beat passed, filled only with the distant hum of cicadas and the soft crash of waves. Then, without warning, he reached out and brushed a strand of hair from her face, fingers lingering just slightly. The action sent shivers through her, but she didn't step back. You're bold, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I can't help it, she said honestly, a smile tugging at her lips. Their eyes locked, and in that suspended moment, Elena felt a pulse of something she hadn't felt in a long time, the thrill of possibility, the dangerous allure of connection, the heady mix of fear and desire. You trust me? He asked, suddenly breaking the quiet. She hesitated. I want to. I think I do. Good, he said, smiling. Because there's more I want to show you. Palermo, my world, everything, if you're willing. Elena's chest tightened. And if I'm not? Then I'll respect that, he said sincerely. But you might miss out. She laughed softly, tension easing into something warmer. I hate that I'm curious, she admitted. Curiosity is good, he said, his tone both teasing and serious. Keeps life interesting. And right now, life should be interesting, shouldn't it? As they walked back toward the villa, Elena felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. She couldn't deny the pull she felt toward him, but part of her whispered caution. Still, she allowed herself to hope. For connection, for adventure, for the chance to create something extraordinary in art and in life. That evening, over a simple dinner of fresh pasta and seafood, their conversation shifted from playful teasing to intimate truths. Lorenzo revealed his passion for woodworking, the quiet hours he spent crafting objects as a grounding ritual. Elena shared her struggles as a designer trying to break free from small commissions and limited opportunities. You're incredibly talented, he said, watching her describe her projects with bright eyes. I wish more people could see that. Then maybe I'll make them, she said determinedly, a spark of hope in her voice. Lorenzo leaned back, studying her as if memorizing the contours of her energy. I want to see it, he said simply. All of it. And I want to help, if you'll let me." Elena's heart fluttered. That's a lot of trust for someone who's basically a stranger. "Not a stranger," he said, eyes softening. "Someone who refuses to be overlooked. Someone who fights for herself. That matters." The air was heavy with emotion, yet unspoken tension lingered. Each glance, each touch of the hand carried meaning. Elena realized she was teetering on the edge of something she didn't fully understand, and it thrilled her, terrified her, and captivated her all at once. Before they retired for the night, Lorenzo offered her a private room in the villa guest wing. "Comfortable," he said simply. "Safe. And close enough if you change your mind about exploring the villa tomorrow." Elena laughed softly, her nerves tingling. "I don't think I'll be running away anytime soon." He smiled, that faint, enigmatic smile that had haunted her thoughts since the parking lot. "Good. Because I intend to make your days interesting. Very interesting." And as she lay awake that night, listening to the soft sounds of the villa, the distant waves, and the gentle rustle of olive trees, Elena felt a pull she couldn't deny. A mix of fear, curiosity, and undeniable attraction that promised adventure, risk, and perhaps something deeper. If you're enjoying Elena and Lorenzo's journey so far, don't forget to subscribe for the next part. Hit like if you're hooked, and comment below with what you think will happen when they explore the villa together. The next morning, the sunlight poured into Elena's room, painting soft gold across the walls. She blinked awake, her mind still tangled in thoughts of last night. Lorenzo's gaze, the gentle brush of his hand, the way he had listened as if her words mattered more than anything else. She rose, moving quietly to the studio. The doors opened wide to a room that suddenly felt alive. Sunlight glinted off the polished wooden floor, highlighting the blank canvas of walls that waited for her designs, her ideas, her life poured into them. For the first time in months, she felt a rush of energy she hadn't known she'd missed. "Morning," Lorenzo's voice broke through, soft but teasing. He was leaning casually against the doorway, coffee in hand, shirt sleeves rolled up, eyes warm but alert. Elena turned, startled by the combination of presence and comfort. "Morning," she said, her voice slightly shaky. I wasn't expecting you so early." He smiled faintly. "I didn't want to interrupt your first day in your kingdom," he said, nodding toward the studio. "But I thought a little caffeine might help." She laughed softly, tension loosening. "You're infuriating. Do you know that?" "Infuriating is my specialty," he said, stepping closer. "But you're extraordinary and stubborn. Dangerous combination." Elena's chest tightened at the compliment, the sincerity in his tone cutting through the playful facade. I don't know how to use this space yet. It feels enormous." "Then make it yours," he said simply. "Start anywhere. Paint walls, rearrange, whatever. Just let yourself create." She hesitated, then stepped inside, taking tentative steps. The wooden floor creaked underfoot, but the sound felt comforting, grounding. Lorenzo watched her, his expression softening. "You're going to do incredible things here, I can feel it." They moved around the studio together, discussing layouts, colors, and possibilities. Every suggestion, every observation became a dance between them, playful, intense, intimate. Elena found herself laughing more freely than she had in weeks, and Lorenzo's attention never wavered, but it wasn't invasive. It was appreciative, acknowledging her talent. As the hours passed, she lost track of time, her energy focused entirely on creation. Lorenzo sat nearby, quietly observing, occasionally offering insight or encouragement. "You have a vision," he said at one point, leaning forward. "You just need to trust yourself." "I'm scared I'll mess it up," she admitted, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Messing up is part of growth," he said gently. And if anyone can handle it, it's you. She met his eyes, and something unspoken passed between them, a recognition of courage, of shared stubbornness. And then, without warning, he reached out, brushing her hand as he passed her. A spark ignited through her, and for a moment, the studio, the sunlight, the villa, Palermo, all of it, faded into the background. "You're distracting," she murmured, almost breathless. He chuckled, that low, easy sound that made her heart tighten. "I might be, but you don't seem to mind." Elena's pulse raced. She wanted to pull back, to remind herself of caution, of reality, and yet she didn't. Instead, she let herself linger in the moment, letting the tension build, letting curiosity lead. Later, they walked through the villa's gardens, the scent of jasmine and rosemary filling the air. Lorenzo told her stories of his family, of properties restored, of mistakes he had made, and lessons learned. Elena shared her own fears and hopes, speaking openly in a way she rarely allowed herself to do. "You know," he said quietly, leaning against the stone balustrade, "most people are intimidated by me. But you face me, you challenge me, and it's thrilling." She laughed softly, shaking her head. "You really enjoy being admired, don't you?" "Not admired," he corrected, eyes locking with hers. "Respected and noticed. That's different." Her chest tightened. I respect talent," she admitted, a small smile tugging at her lips, "even if it comes with a headache." "You're enjoying this more than you let on," he teased, stepping closer. "Admit it." She hesitated, then allowed herself a laugh. "Maybe I am." The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in oranges and purples. Lorenzo took her hand just briefly, but it sent a ripple of warmth through her. "I want to show you something," he said. Curiosity flared. "What?" "You'll see," he said, a hint of mystery in his voice. He led her toward a small path winding down to a secluded terrace overlooking the coast. The waves crashed gently against the rocks, the sea sparkling in the dying light. They stood together, shoulders almost touching, watching the horizon. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then, without warning, Lorenzo reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. The touch lingered, soft but deliberate. "Elena," he murmured, voice low. "I've been wanting to do that since yesterday." Her breath caught. She couldn't finish. Her heart hammered, chest tight, mind screaming caution and desire at the same time. He leaned closer, and she felt the warmth of his presence, the pull she couldn't resist. Then, tentative and slow, their lips met. It wasn't hurried or aggressive. It was a tentative exploration, a meeting of curiosity, tension, and something deeper. Pulling back slightly, she looked up at him, breathless. "You're insane," she whispered. "And you," he said, smiling softly, "are irresistible when stubborn." They lingered on the terrace, watching the sunset fade wrapped in the moment. Elena's mind raced with questions, fears, and yet the undeniable pull of connection. She felt seen, understood, challenged, and cherished, all at once. As night fell, they returned to the villa. Dinner was simple, quiet, intimate. Lorenzo cooked, but Elena noticed the care he took in preparing even small gestures. The right wine, the placement of plates, the soft music in the background. Each action reinforced the sincerity beneath his boldness, the care beneath the confidence. Over the meal, they spoke openly about dreams, past struggles and ambitions. Elena felt herself relaxing in ways she hadn't thought possible, allowing trust and hope to seep in alongside desire. "You really think I can do this?" she asked, nodding toward the studio, her words tentative. "I know you can," he said firmly, meeting her gaze. "Talent like yours isn't easy to ignore. I want to help, if you let me." I don't know if I can let anyone in, she admitted. You don't have to, he said softly. Just allow yourself to be seen. That's all. Elena's heart twisted in ways that were thrilling and terrifying. She wanted to retreat, to protect herself. But part of her, the part that had stayed curious through the parking lot, the tense dinner, the villa, wanted to trust him. And she did. If you're enjoying Elena and Lorenzo's journey and want to see what happens as their connection deepens and sparks ignite further, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and comment below with what you think will happen next. The next morning, Elena woke to the soft hum of the villa. Sunlight spilled across the room, golden and warm, catching dust motes in lazy beams. She rolled over, still feeling the echo of last night. The terrace, the tentative kiss, the surge of something dangerous and thrilling that had left her heart pounding. She dressed quickly, brushing her hair, trying to focus on the day ahead. But the studio called to her, the polished wooden floors, the empty walls, the scent of possibility hanging in the air. Elena's steps were light, almost floating as she entered. She had ideas spinning in her head, sketches she'd been imagining for weeks, and finally, she could bring them to life. Lorenzo was already there, leaning against the doorway with his usual calm confidence, a cup of espresso in hand. "Morning," he said, voice low, carrying just enough warmth to make her heart skip. "Morning," she replied, trying to sound casual but failing miserably. "I didn't sleep much." He nodded knowingly. "You're thinking. I can see it. And you're going to do something amazing today." She glanced at him, eyes narrowing playfully. "You make it sound like I have no choice." "You have all the choice," he said, stepping closer. "But talent like yours, it needs to move." She felt her chest tighten. Every word, every look, seemed to tug at her in ways she hadn't anticipated. She turned toward the studio walls, taking deep breaths, letting the focus shift to creation. Lorenzo lingered nearby, offering insights here and there, careful not to crowd her, yet always present. Hours passed in a blur of color, sketches, and paint strokes. The room buzzed with energy, a heady mixture of tension, focus, and the unspoken bond forming between them. Elena realized how much she had missed this, being fully immersed in creation, supported, challenged, noticed. "You've outdone yourself," Lorenzo said suddenly, standing behind her as she stepped back to admire a newly finished mural. This is incredible." Elena felt her cheeks warm. "Thanks. I think I needed this." "You did," he said softly, "and I needed to see it. You're amazing, Elena. You know that, right?" She laughed nervously, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "I think I might now." The afternoon sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the studio. Lorenzo suggested a break, leading her to the villa terrace, where the sea glittered in the late light. They sat side by side, shoulders brushing occasionally, the silence between them comfortable, electric. "Elena," he said suddenly, voice low and intense. "I know this is fast, but I want to be honest with you. I don't do this with just anyone. You've changed something in me." Her heart skipped a beat. "Changed you how?" she asked, barely above a whisper. "Made me want more than just control, more than power," he admitted, turning slightly to look at her. "Made me want connection, trust, someone who sees me for all that I am and doesn't flinch." Elena swallowed hard, the emotions swirling in her chest. I'm scared," she confessed, voice trembling slightly. "Scared of what this could mean, of losing myself." "Then we don't lose ourselves," he said firmly. "We respect each other. I don't want to control you. I want to see you thrive, create, be free. And maybe, let me in." Her chest tightened, overwhelmed by sincerity, intensity, and the undeniable pull she felt. She met his gaze, searching for deceit, but found none. Only honesty, respect, and something dangerously magnetic. She began, then stopped, letting her emotions settle. Finally, she nodded. I think I want to try. With you. A slow, relieved smile spread across his face. He reached for her hand, fingers interlacing with hers. Good, because I don't plan on letting go. They lingered on the terrace, letting the connection deepen. Words gave way to subtle touches, shared smiles, the quiet intimacy of being seen. The villa, the sea, the sky. All became the backdrop to a moment neither of them wanted to end. Later that evening, Lorenzo prepared a simple dinner. Elena watched, marveling at the care he put into each step. The gestures weren't extravagant, but thoughtful. Wine poured just right, dishes presented with care, soft music filling the background. Every action reinforced what she already felt, his sincerity, his devotion, his willingness to make her world richer without taking control. After dinner, they returned to the studio. Elena's sketches, her colors, her ideas, they all seemed alive tonight, inspired by the day, by Lorenzo, by the connection they had built. She laughed softly at one particularly bold stroke, and he leaned in close, whispering, "Brilliant. Just like you." Her heart fluttered. "Stop it," she said breathlessly, half shaking her head, half smiling. "You're going to make me fall for you." "Maybe that's the plan," he murmured, brushing a gentle hand along her arm. The night deepened around the villa. Elena leaned against the railing of her terrace, gazing at the moonlight over the water, thoughts swirling. She had come to Palermo seeking stability, maybe a little freedom, certainly a parking spot she could claim. And now, she had a studio, inspiration, a man who challenged her, protected her, and ignited something she didn't even know was there. Lorenzo stepped beside her, hand brushing hers. "You okay?" he asked softly. She smiled, leaning into his presence. "Better than okay, scared, yes, but alive, more alive than I've been in a long time." He smiled back, fingers tightening around hers. "Good, because I plan on keeping it that way. And if you let me, sharing it with you is only the beginning." Her heart raced, her chest tight, a thrill coursing through her. She didn't know exactly what the future held, danger, excitement, challenges, perhaps heartbreak. But she did know one thing. She had chosen to trust, to explore, to risk. And with that choice came a promise, unspoken but powerful, honesty, respect, and a bond that neither had expected, yet both craved. Elena glanced at him, eyes shining. "So, we try this. See where it goes?" "We do," he said, voice firm, unwavering. "And we face it together." Their hands intertwined, the moonlight casting a glow over them. In that moment, the chaotic streets of Palermo, the parking disputes, the uncertainties, all faded away. All that remained was connection, possibility, and the courage to embrace it. If you've enjoyed Elena and Lorenzo's story and want to see more heart-pounding romance and emotional moments, make sure to like this video, leave a comment about your favorite part so far, and subscribe for the full story series. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. As the night stretched on, Elena felt a deep sense of transformation. From the adrenaline of a parking spot dispute to the intimacy of a villa terrace, from tension and curiosity to trust and desire, she realized she had grown. Not just in courage, but in her willingness to embrace life's unexpected opportunities. And as she leaned against Lorenzo, feeling his steady heartbeat beneath her hand, she knew one thing for certain. Whatever came next, she wouldn't face it alone.